Hi, I'm Krista, and this is A Commonplace Life. Today I'm sharing a few books I've been reading lately, what drew me to them, and what stayed with me so far. Each one's been part of a bigger theme I've been thinking about lately. What it means to show up as your full self, imperfect and present, in a world that often pushes you to be something else. The first book is Presence by Amy Cuddy. I picked it up because of my work. I help educate children, and of course it's important to be fully present for them. But I knew I wasn't. I was more concerned about doing it perfectly or about what other people thought than I was with actually connecting. This book helped me see how often fear or self-consciousness can take us out of the moment and how much power there is in simply being present, even when we don't feel confident. It reminded me that showing up as yourself, imperfectly, is more powerful than waiting to feel ready. The next book is The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. I picked this one up because I was struggling with something I think many of us have experienced: the pressure to make everything perfect before sharing it. That mindset was holding me back from creating anything at all. And that was very frustrating because I had a lot of ideas I cared about, but fear was keeping them stuck inside me. This book gently challenged that. One passage especially shifted how I think about creative work. Brené writes, "Most of us who are searching for spiritual connection spend too much time looking up at the sky and wondering why God lives so far away. God lives within us, not above us. Sharing our gifts and talents with the world is the most powerful source of connection with God." She goes on to say that if developing and sharing our gifts is how we honor spirit and connect with God, then self-doubt is fear getting in the way of faith. I had never thought about it that way. When I did, it made me realize that I've been letting fear lead, not because I don't care, but because I care so deeply. And that makes it hard to risk being seen. This book reminded me that imperfection isn't something to hide or to fix. It's something to carry with us as we go. The last book I want to talk about is Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. I picked it up partly because I've been learning French and exploring more French literature, and partly because I love the classics, and this one feels like an important part of both worlds. As I read it, I was surprised how modern Madame Bovary feels in so many ways. Her restlessness, her longing for something more, her search for meaning and identity, those things are timeless. She wants her life to matter, to feel vivid and full of purpose. But the world around her keeps offering repetition and routine instead. Flaubert's writing mirrors that beautifully. There's a passage describing Charles's daily routine that feels almost hypnotic in its monotony, like the sentence itself is tired. And then later, when we're immersed in Emma's emotional world, her longings and her frustrations, Flaubert ends part one with the single abrupt line. "When they left toast at the month of March, Madame Bovary was pregnant." It's so quiet, so final. In all her dreaming that we witness before that, she never once seemed to think about sex or motherhood. And now, without fanfare, she's pregnant. Something very physical and real. It felt like the rhythm of the novel snapped, like we were being pulled out of her fantasy and into the life she's actually living. Emma's story is tragic, but it's also deeply human. Even early on, she's not just a symbol, She's a person trying to make sense of her life. And even though the novel was written in the 1800s, that search still feels very familiar. As different as these books are, I have noticed the same thread running through them. In Presence, it's about showing up as your full self, even when you feel unsure. In the Gifts of Imperfection, it's about releasing the need to be perfect in order to be worthy. And in Madame Bovary, it's the ache that comes when you try to live by someone else's story instead of your own. They've each reminded me, quietly and in their own ways, that a meaningful life isn't about doing it all right. It's about being present, honest, human,